As Ambassador has said, we are extremely grateful to RIC, to Ambassador Mehta, and please put my presentation, um, for having invited us here. It's been a journey for us, but my journey uh, in this particular field started in 2016 when there was an operation by the NSG where the Pathankot Air Base was attacked, January 2016. The NSG had gone there, we had killed 4 terrorists. In that operation, we lost a valiant officer, Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan. And this particular comic form, graphic novel form, I had earlier published on that operation. So, as I say, and as I'll say a little later too in the presentation, Pathankot 2016 to Pahalgam 2025, it's been an author's journey for me. This is the book which was launched, as was mentioned in the talk, by the Army Chief on 22nd January. It was launched in India International Centre to a full hall, which included diplomats serving Army, Navy, Air Force, retired, and some civilians. So as I was mentioning, for me, my first connection with this was this particular comic which I just held up to you. It was published in the Week magazine. What you're seeing is the Week magazine cover, not the cover, this is one feature page. And our book has again now been featured in the Week, which I will talk to you again. So again, some time later we have seen how this happens. Now this is the book. You would have seen it outside. You would have seen it on the first slide. Red lines redrawn. And we are 4 authors. And when I was approached to do this book, I had the domain knowledge, having worked in Northeast, in Kashmir, 5 tenures, and I knew I could cover the general strategic aspects and the military aspects. But there are certain very technical aspects of the Army Air Defense, the Air Force, and the diplomacy part, which I thought I may not do justice if I do it alone. So I drew in these other experts who were known to me, and thereafter we embarked on this journey. In the last 1 year, in fact, since Sindoor came into the limelight, you all would have heard the term multi-domain operations. A number of people are nodding. Of course, we have been hearing it for the last 15 years and we've been talking about it, but in the civilian parlance, people understood multi-domain operations because there is something happening on Indus Waters Treaty, there is something happening by air, by cyber, and therefore I got the domain experts, and I bring to you, sir, a multi-domain book about a multi-domain operation. So that is what this book is all about. Thank you, sir. As the Chief of Army Staff in his launch, at the launch function said, this is the first book in his knowledge and also to our knowledge, which is co-authored by military and diplomatic experts together. There are co-edited books where you will find chapters by many people, but they are not really coherent books. A co-authored book, this is the first. We have yet to claim the Limca record on it. We will do that. So for our research, sir, we had multiple interaction with the CDS, with the Army, Navy, Air Force, and also Ambassador Pankaj Saran, who was in the NSAB, will be known to you. So in fact, none of those sessions could be photographed, but this photograph is taken outside the CDS while we were in the CDS waiting room. I just took the snap. And in fact, my co-authors were saying, why are you taking it inside a room? We should take it outside. It never happened. We all got so busy with writing the book, we never got to take a photograph again. So as I'm mentioning, what is therefore really important about this book, that it is based largely on authentic inputs. And there are multiple domains of expertise drawn in. So therefore, what we hope to give you is an authentic account, an accurate chronicle, and some critical analysis. And we have decoded the clutter. And there was a lot of clutter, as you're aware. We also make some recommendations. The air and nuclear aspects were covered by Air Marshal Rajesh, who's not here. He was former CNC of SFC, that is the Strategic Forces Command. The man who holds the nuclear button is the CNC of the Strategic Forces Command. All the nuclear buttons are with SFC. So he was the CNC of that. Also, he's a fighter pilot. Pounding the earth and guarding the skies. The chapter on the Indian Army, written by Brigadier Bhargav. And of course, the entire geopolitics, the Indus Waters Treaty are expounded in chapter 6, where we draw upon the experience of Ambassador Trigunayat. Finally, at the end, we draw some conclusions, make some recommendations. What Ambassador just touched upon, the narrative battle. Now, my PhD is in information warfare. I studied this in more probably detail than anything else. So I will not talk much about it. I will just, be very crisp on this. We concluded that there was excessive chatter on Indian media versus a comparative silence in the international media. And this needs modification. Some analysts have opined that Pakistan was able to swing the narrative and the Western perception from terrorism, which was the cause, to Kashmir issue, which is not really the cause. And they were able to re-hyphenate India-Pakistan, which over the past 10, 15 years, we had managed to de-hyphenate us. And Pakistan has probably succeeded in re-hyphenating it. We may not agree, but this is what the perception is. Much has been written of this. Some of it we have quoted in our book. What we have recommended is that we need a structured central authority. I have named it the Strategic Communication Authority. You can give it any name: narrative warfare, cognitive warfare, information warfare. There are multiple terms, so that's a separate 1-hour lecture by itself, which I take. Whatever it may be, we need a structured central authority with mandate and funding, both of which are absent today. This cannot be handled on your routine budget. You need a separate budget for this. Okay. So I will now talk a little bit about the first 2-3 chapters and certain things which I would like to mention about this book. I start from the Soviet era. And I've been speaking at a number of Lit Fests and other places. I do ask the students, what really happened in Afghanistan in the period. So Russia had occupied Afghanistan. I will just refresh your memory. Russia had occupied Afghanistan at the end of 78, 79. At that time itself, USA had lost Iran, which is covered here. Iran had also fallen in the sense that the Ayatollahs had taken over. Now you are looking at USA. They have lost their influence on Iran. Russia has occupied Afghanistan. And their next step would be that Russia will get a warm water port. So they had to get Russia out of Afghanistan. They recruited the terrorists from all over the world. They recruited Mujahideen. They called them Mujahideen, and this is what the Afghan Mujahideen looked like. All over the world, Chechen, Sudan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, wherever they could get. And within 10 years, they managed to remove Russia from Afghanistan. During Op Sindoor, or just before Op Sindoor, when this was going on, Yalda Hakim, a known anchor, took an interview of the defense minister of Pakistan, where he said, yes, we have been doing the dirty work of USA for decades, for 3 decades. Which are those decades? Just prior to this whole Russian thing, and they continued doing it thereafter. Then there was a gap when USA left and went away. And that is how Taliban was born. Anyway, I'll not bore you with that. The point is that when the Mujahideen had finished the job of getting Russians out of Afghanistan, they had no work to do. They had to be diverted somewhere, number one. Number two, what Anatol Levin writes, he's a known author. He knows Pakistan very well. He lived in Pakistan and wrote this book, Pakistan, a Hard Country. I met him in 2011, just after he had written the book. He says, the Pakistan army looked at the success wherein they were able to remove the Russian army from Afghanistan as the Pakistan army's success, not the CIA or American success. And they say, if we can remove the Russian army from Afghanistan, why can't we remove the Indian army from Kashmir? So they swung these terrorists around into India, and at that time we did not have an LC fence. There's an IB fence on the entire Pakistan border, but we did not fence the Kashmir portion because we felt our claim is beyond POK. So why should we fence it and restrict ourselves? There was no fence. And the result was a massive number of terrorist incidents. And I was here at this time in operations in Kashmir. Look at the figure. More than 5,000 incidents in a year. 15 to 20 incidents were taking place every day. I have lived through this. What did we do? This is there in the book. We raised the Rashtriya Rifles, and thereafter the numbers started coming down. Now, what do you think would be the reaction of Pakistan? They had to do something. Anyone? Kargil. So they did Kargil 99. What happened with that? Our forces had to move into Ladakh. So the number started going up again. I'll not waste too much of time. Next thing, we realized that we have to do something more. So we built the LC fence. Thereafter, look at the numbers coming down. Pakistan was becoming desperate. They did Mumbai attack 2008. Did not have any effect. And however, even with the parliament attack, even with the Bombay attack, India did not strike. I will come to the military doctrine part of it. Now we have a change of government. And in his early days, the PM went to Lahore on a personal function of Nawaz Sharif. It was an outreach. 25th December 15, but it was of no avail. You may not remember, there were some people nodding when I said Pathankot Air Base attack. Does anyone remember the date? January, sir. 1st Jan, sir. 1st January, it happened. And 25th December was this. 6 days later. So you are having an outreach, and it is again reminding me of the Lahore bus journey when PM went to the bus journey and Kargil was happening at the same time. So, well, it's a series of things. As I mentioned, Pathankot 2016, that's the time I wrote the graphic novel. Thereafter, that year we had Uri. And thereafter we had the surgical strikes. After the surgical strikes, there was some let-up. Of course, there were two incidents, Nagrota and Sunjwan, which were the military bases, but no major civilian casualties. And next was Pulwama, the massive attack which happened, after which was the Balakot airstrikes. The next marker was the Article 370. Now, all markers started improving. Now, Pakistan had become desperate, and this is the time they do Pahalgam. 25 plus 1, I will come to this figure. There was one Muslim pony handler and 25 non-Muslim who died. I will take you back. Did you hear of a train hijack? There was a train hijack in Pakistan. It's called the Zafar Express hijack, and this is the route of the Zafar Express. A very famous train. Has been attacked many times. But this time, when you say hijack, you expect a moving train. No, sir. They stopped the train, they dismounted the passengers, and they did ethnic profiling and religious profiling. Women, children, and elderly were released. Can someone tell me how? Okay, now thereafter, the Pakistan security forces, yes, sir, relied. The Pakistan security forces thereafter attacked. There was a encounter, some people died. Finally, as per Al Jazeera, quoting DGISPR, 25 Pakistanis were killed. 21 civilians and 4 security forces. After that, Pakistan blamed India and Afghanistan for this. Of course, we denied. And 15th April is this famous talk by the army chief to overseas Pakistanis broadcast all over the world. Everyone is speaking about this. So 11th April, 15th April, and 22nd April. 25 plus 1, sir. I have just quoted the figure and I have left it there. And thereafter we have Operation Sindoor, which was being spoken about. 6th of May night, 7th early morning. And why 7th May in the early morning? It is the Indian Army post because 7 targets were struck by Indian Army, 2 by Indian Air Force. Had things wound up, it would have remained more of an army operation, but it went into the Air Force domain much more later. This is the famous photograph shown by the Foreign Secretary during the next press conference, that this is how you give state funerals with the Pakistani flag to terrorists in your country. It does not make any sense to us. This is what he said. And all the hierarchy was there for this funeral. A short clip. Parliament. This is the LC firing. So this is the fire at Uri. This is the surgical strike where we went across the border. Then Pulwama and the Balakot strike. Now Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor. This is on the line of control. This is the Markaz Dhurandhar 2. If you've seen the movie Dhurandhar 2, this is the same funeral. Again, the line of control. A very short clip, 1 minute, made by the Indian Army. I'm just playing it for you. Now, something about the doctrine and other issues. I will not labor on the Sundarji doctrine. This is incidentally the Pakistani report. We had a particular doctrine in place. I will not labor on it. Thereafter, we went in for shallow thrust and the cold start. Cold start, you may have heard. We had a cold start doctrine. Again, the cold start doctrine was not much publicized. Rather, there are statements of authorities to say, no, we don't have a cold start doctrine. Fortunately, as I was writing this book, the chief who that time made the cold start doctrine has released his book, Alone in the Ring, in which he has a full chapter on cold start. So I've quoted from there, and I have linked the whole thing down to today. So he said there were 3 reasons why we changed from the Sundarji doctrine to cold start. He does not call it Sundarji doctrine, rightly so. Okay. Now we have, as was mentioned by the MC also, we have the dynamic response doctrine. This is what it is now. It was developed somewhere around 2016-17 during the Uri strikes and thereafter. I am giving it to you in, just about 10 years' time. Whereas the cold start was designed in 2003 and published in 2025 after more than 20 years. So you've got this in lesser time. We are now shifted to punitive deterrence. We were earlier having a more restrained doctrine. We have a joint doctrine on this, wide range of options. It's a new normal with the firm control of the escalation matrix. And the escalation matrix is something which you now understand even with the Iran war which is going on. You escalate step by step. And we do not want to accept externally defined thresholds. Oh, if you go across, Pakistan will launch a nuclear missile. What will you do? How can you attack? So we don't, now we say we will not accept anyone else's threshold. We will draw our own red lines. And hence the title, Red Lines Redrawn. We've discussed this with military authorities. We have cleared this for publication. And this is what the new doctrine is and the new framework, decisive retaliation. We don't distinguish between the terrorist sponsors and terrorists, and we will not tolerate nuclear blackmail. No knee-jerk reactions. It's not that any small thing happens and we have to launch a war. No, it will be proportionate, it will be decided by the political-military hierarchy, and we will do it at a time and place of our choosing and a level of our choosing. And this is the first time this new doctrine has been revealed in a publication. We've had this in place for almost 8-9 years. First time it has been published in our book. And as our Air Chief said, we have to learn how to exit from a conflict in a rapid time frame. And this is something the whole world has to learn from us. And he said this in September. And today it is relevant to USA. So this is what the response doctrine is. Now this is a Pakistani article, February 9th, so I presume he may have read a book. And he talks about the dynamic response strategy because now it is officially published. And he says that India has reshaped the logic of a limited war. So they are worried because we have reshaped the way we will define things. We have our red lines redrawn. An individual by the name of Dhehran, I don't know who is this. He's published this small little review, and where again he says that the main idea in our book is dynamic response doctrine. The week, as I said, what I showed you, the week had done the earlier review. This is the review of the week, where he says, among other things, he's quoting my text, Pakistan's low-cost proxy war option, adopted for the last few decades, has hit the wall of Indian retribution. So in fact, my earlier name of the book was Proxy War and Retribution, but then we changed it to Red Lines Redrawn. This is the foreword by the chief. He has said it is an outstanding collaborative work. And this is, as I said, the book. And we have tried to, as I mentioned, cover multiple domains in detail, provide you a pragmatic recommendations. And we bring to you a well-researched volume with credible sources. We hope if you read it, you find it purposeful, just as we found purpose in writing it. Thank you, sir.